everyone, so today we're going to be taking a look at the YJ MGC version 2. And so these were sent directly to me from SpeedCubeShop, and so I don't think these are the final versions, but it should still be pretty similar, and the retail mass-produced versions are already up for sale, so definitely go check those out. And so I do have the original MGC here, and it was a favorite of mine for quite a long time, but I think after using it for a while, it just got a little bit too slow for me. It's just a little bit too controllable for my tastes. I do prefer something slightly faster and quicker than this, but it still is a really great cube that a lot of people do really like still. But yeah, let's just go ahead and take a look at the V2. So I have this little info sheet here. So yeah, it's 1995. SpeedCubeShop did work with YJ pretty closely to produce this, which is really cool. And it looks like they have different spring options, which is nice. So I guess it's sort of like GAN's GES system where you can just swap out the springs to give it a different feeling and elasticity. And yeah, so I don't believe that these are the final versions because the stickerless will have a slightly brighter green than this. But let's just go ahead and take a look at the performance of these things. So I have the stickerless and black ones. And right away, just comparing it to the original MGC, you can definitely tell that there is an aesthetic difference. We've got squared off corners on the V2, and at least on the black version, it will come with custom SpeedCubeShop Fulbrights, which is very nice. Definitely high quality, and it looks really great. But yeah, so for the most part, all I can really feel and see is that the original MGC just feels a little bit more bubbly, whereas the V2 is a little bit more flat and also the squared off corners. But yeah, let's just go ahead and see how this thing turns. Alright, well, first impressions right off the bat, the V2 definitely feels completely different. Even just holding it too, the V2 is much lighter. You can just feel that the V1 is a little bit more dense, and overall the feelings, the V2 is much faster, a lot more quick, and it has a sort of crispy feeling to it. Yeah, and the V1 is just a little bit more controllable and quiet, but yeah, just overall, I would really characterize the V1 as dense, whereas the V2 is more quick and lightweight. And so I definitely like the speed of the V2 over the V1, but I am experiencing a bit of catching on some turns. So that might have to do with the squared off corners depending on how they implemented those. But I mean, overall, definitely not a bad cube just right off the bat. Yeah, corner cutting is pretty much on par with any other 3x3 nowadays. Past 45 and around half a piece for reverse on stock tensions, and so definitely not bad. As far as the magnets go, they're definitely really light. It's really only when you're turning it slowly like this and purposely feeling for them when you can distinguish that click from the magnets. But if you're just turning it regularly and speed solving it, you're not gonna feel it. So it's really only there for stability and controllability purposes. If anything, the magnets in the V1 are much stronger than the ones in the V2. Yeah, the V1 magnets are definitely a lot more noticeable. Yeah, I want to go ahead and check out the black version, see if it feels any different, but I really do like these shades actually. These are custom cut from SpeedCubeShop, which is what the black versions will be stock with, so that's really nice. It does feel a little bit more thoroughly lubed. I think it just feels a little bit slower because of the setup. Yeah, the stickerless one is just a little bit quicker and more slick feeling than this. I think maybe this one just has a little bit more lube in it. Needs to be broken in. But it overall has that same sort of feeling. So I don't believe that there is going to be a performance difference between the black ones and the stickerless versions. They do feel very similar. I think it might just be because this one's set up a little bit differently that it feels slightly more gummed up than the stickerless version. But yeah, I just have to play around with the setups and just see how that turns out. Oh, I should also check too which springs are in here. So yeah, it looks like the white ones in this black one, and then also in the stickerless, also white. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how these different springs are gonna really affect the cube. So far the white ones seem perfectly fine. So let's just go ahead and check out the mechanism actually compared to the V1. And so right away you can see that the primary plastic is a little bit different. The V1 is a little bit more transparent, so I'm not really sure if that affects the feeling or not. The V2 has a much different torpedo to it. It's a lot more thin, a little bit more simplistic, and then the V1 edge torpedo is a lot chunkier and just overall a lot more dense. And also you have these added tracks on the V2 edge. And as far as the corners go, again, the V1 corner base is a lot more intricate. It has these sharp corners protruding out. And the V2 corner base is a lot more simplistic. It's just really rounded at the base. And looking at the V2 corner, you can really see why there is the possibility of catches. So the squared off corners, it's really just a very thin, brittle cap put over it. And so just that little piece protruding out, that's really what gives way for a lot of catching to occur. Yeah, the V1 doesn't have that, and it's just overall a lot more rounded and true to the base mechanism. And so just looking at an overview of the mechanisms, the V1 is a lot more spread out. You can see that just overall the inner hole and the circle of the V2 is a lot smaller. It feels a little bit more floppy as a result, since the inner core is a lot closer to the center and it's a lot smaller. So the V1 definitely feels a lot more stable because of that. And so personally, I don't think the mechanisms are too similar. I think the V2 could have easily passed off as a completely different model of a cube. But the V2 really just caters to a different feeling that people prefer. The V2 is just a lot lighter, quicker, and a little bit more crispy and crunchy feeling. It really reminds me of the Valk Power actually. Objectively speaking, I do think that it is a pretty good cube. Really the only flaw that I'm noticing right now is that catching could be an issue. Because of the squared off corners, that could be a recurring problem, but that'll really just depend on your turning style. So I'll have to break it in, get used to it, and see how it goes from there. But, you know, is this thing worth an extra $20 out of your pocket? I don't think so. I mean, I think the spring idea is definitely really cool, and so once I get the other spring variants in and I try them out, I think that is a really cool concept that you might want to look into. But just given this baseline of the V2 with the white springs and just first impressions, I don't really think it's a cube that you need to immediately go out and buy. I know I think it is worth giving it a try if you want to, but it's not anything too spectacular or it's gonna blow you away. Alright, so that is gonna do it for this unboxing. I am currently working with other creators on a collaborative MGC V2 review, just like the V1 review up on SpeedCubeShop's channel, so definitely be on the lookout. But yeah, if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments below. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.